I see being art, the arts too, not just art, but
Right,
the arts,
that's-
music and literature.
It's so important to our society that we see it every day. In everything we wear, we sit on, we drive, it's all art. The advertising, the movies. And I don't think the general public thinks of that as being art.
Well, there are young professional athletes who it's very visual, and the commercial is image is everything, and that's art, yes, but I think it's more important what we are than how we look or what we wear. And, you know, art can portray that. I think you know, spiritual art can convey faith and belief in God. It's visual, it's art, it's artistic, but it's conveying an important message. I think a thing can be used for so many things. You can just use it for relaxation and enjoyment. You can use it for learning. You can use it for giving a lesson or conveying a belief. You know, I see this. You have these young children, and you're kind of exposing them for the first time, and you know, maybe going to uncover a child who has a gift and who may take it and use it through life as a career, or just exposing them to it so they can appreciate it the rest of their life.
It can be that simple.
Great, it's a great opportunity. What are some of the careers in art? If you know, just to take, say you have a high schooler who's interested and came to you for counseling. He had some interest in art. What would you say are careers?
Well, I have one of my former students who was very talented in drawing, and he was very much into the superhero type cartoons, comic books, and I think he's got a very big career in illustration, which is nice. And illustrating could be books. I think there's going to be a big field opening up in the video area as far as movies, commercials. You have everything from artists who work for the police to photographers. There's hundreds and hundreds of jobs in art, just from an art teacher to a museum curator. Your painter and your sculptor is a very small section of the art area. You have textile designers, you have automobile designers, you've got billboard design, you've got people who design furniture. All that has to come out with a pencil and a piece of paper.
So there are a lot of careers.
It's wide open. Wide open.
Do you have as a hobby on the side, do you paint, do you sculpt?
I was trained I had a dual major in painting and photography. I do like photography. I've gotten away from painting with 2 children in a house we built and trying to keep up with that. But
so you do some painting, but it's like exterior and walls.
Yes. Yeah, a little different than using a canvas. But I'm trying to get back into it. I'm active in my town's arts society, and I would like to have more time, but there's only 24 hours in the day. And after teaching art all day, I do art all day long. So you have to understand, if I have a kindergarten class, I do their artwork demonstrating there. Like if I had a class of, say, 6th graders doing ceramics, well, I might do ceramics with them. If I'm doing paints with a 4th grade class, but I do it all day long. So it's not like I go home and
you're dying to get some art.
No,
yeah.
It doesn't go that way. So
yeah. You know, I wondered, we had talked a little bit, and you had mentioned about art in Worcester, particularly in the schools, the history of art, you know, where it was from the beginnings, where it's at, and where you think it might go, just an overall.
Well, I've always been on the upside of things, and I think it's getting better in the city of Worcester. You might find some art teachers thinking the opposite, but when I first started teaching, every high school had 4 to 5 art teachers in the high schools. And Worcester has 4 high schools.
Now, you're not going to upset if I ask you when you started teaching?
1971.
Okay.
Okay, this is my 22nd year. They used to offer courses such as jewelry making. They had a specific ceramics course. They have, plus your fine arts, they had portfolio courses where the kids who were going on to college would design portfolios. And now in the city of Worcester, there's 1 art teacher at each high school. And we've really come down in numbers. But in the past couple of years, we've picked up a few positions. A couple of years ago, all the elementary teachers were traveling elementary art teachers. You'd go from school to school every different day. So on a Monday, you might be at one school, Tuesday at a different school, and you really didn't get to know the kids. You didn't have time. You go in and teach your classes, and you're on to a new school. Now there are 4 schools, One is called the Worcester Arts Magnet Elementary School, and there are 4 schools that have full-time art and music. And I think that number will grow in the next few years. I think a lot of it's due to the override of Proposition 2.5 by the Worcester voters to allow the money to stay in the Worcester Public Schools. So I have hope for the future for the Worcester Public Schools.
Well, I think we've got to have hope for the future in every way. Our education, our schools, our environment. I think, you know, the very practical mention of the careers. I think sometimes maybe if there's a tight budget and money scarce, you know, people might say, well, you know, art and music are a luxury for children.
True, they can get private lessons. I'll send them for private, yes.
And we got to do the math and the reading and the writing, and yes, but I really, and I know you feel this way, and I do too, that there is an equality of all of these things. The child who has the gift of talent in the arts, and it never gets uncovered, it never gets nurtured, may get the basic education, but may end up in a job the rest of their lives that they're not suited for, they're not best at, they're not happy with. And I think that's what can happen when we don't expose children, when we don't give them a broad view,
right,
and then let them kind of narrow it down as they get older. I think we've got to just afford to give our children a broad view, including the arts in the beginning.
One other thing I'd like to mention, as far as the junior high and high school, there is a program in Worcester which is called the Arts Magnet at Burncoat. And they have theater, dance, drama, music, and visual arts. And it's all as a group, along with all the rest of their academics. And it's a very, very strong program in the city of Worcester, and it's working out very well. And it's a 7th, 8th, 9th, right up to 12th grade program, where the students can specialize in, if they want to do jazz, ballet, they have dance. If they want to do theater where they put on plays, they do. If they want to take up an instrument, they can. Or if they want to get into the visual arts, they also can.
Well, you know, I've seen so many adolescents that really blossom when they discover theater, the class play, whatever it be, whether it be the acting role, the singing role, a part of it. They are in. They're in a group. They've got a common goal. They're good, even if it's being the stage. If they're good, if they're
right,
strong and they're part of it. If they don't have these things, particularly the adolescent, that's going to be the last part of the series, the adolescent, but it's very hard for me, you know, we're talking about the child, but I'm always projecting ahead about the child's going to be a teen soon, and, you know, you don't have forever. You got to find their niche. You got to. So if this child who maybe isn't an athlete and maybe isn't an academic whiz with the usual subjects, but has the talent in the arts, whether it's art or music or theater or drama, whatever, if they discover that and they discover the joy of it and they have talent for it and they become part of a group, so much better than to become, say, part of a group that's smoking pot every day after school. And yes, that's a group and they're part of that and they have that common bond, but when you think about the future, where each of those two groups are going,
one's the positive and one's the negative.
Oh, you know, how do you put a money value on that? You know, if you want to, you can save millions by cutting back on the juvenile courts and probation officers and jails and police force. If we can get children into good things that'll carry on into their junior high and high school and young adult, that are good and that are positive, and we'll keep them away from these other things that are so negative and so destructive.
And we found that up at Burncoat that a lot of the students who are involved in the Arts Magnet program are the higher academic level student too. And they're just involved. They're involved in student council, they're involved in the newspaper, they're involved in other things. And it's like you said, it's a sense of belonging. They've found something they're good at, and they found a little niche that they're very proud of.
And they develop friendships within that group,
Yes,
that
that
they're
carry
sharing
on.
a common interest. And I wanted to just show a couple of things before we're just, you know, to me, and you should criticize this now, different art forms.
I'm not doing a critique, no.
Well, it can be casual. The bunny, you know, the stuffed animal, which we see children, you know, with their dolls and their stuffed animals, is just an art form. This was on our Easter show.
Just the design of the package is an art form.
The whole,
Andy Warhol proved that to us.
the whole of it. This is from Haiti. I brought a couple of works of Haitian art. This was done with banana bark, and we did this also on our Easter show. And both of these are Haitian art done with banana bark. And my uncle gave me a Hummel. This is
Sculpture.
ceramic,
Ceramics,
sculptured
correct.
glass.
Yep.
And this is wood. This is also Haitian. And two things that... thanks.
You're welcome.
This is, I think, from a child. I showed you this before the program. We've all seen the cross, the crucifixion. But from a child's viewpoint, I think I can't remember asking them what do they really think. But I think something like this shows, you know, how a child looks so differently at what we see as an adult. They just, a child would feel sorry and would just want to give our Lord a hug and, you know, sorry that you seem to have so much pain and that you're suffering. And, you know, this is art. This is what it can do, bring out feelings in adults, in children, different feelings, good feelings. This is a Madonna. This is a Madonna in Medjugorje, and it's not one of the traditional 13th century, but it's a just beautiful. I look at the eyes of this, and they always seem to be changing. And maybe you can tell us how eyes change, or how they seem to look at you, or they look sad one time and happy another time.
The Mona Lisa complex there.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it smiling or not? Yes.
And yet they're static, I think.
We all see things, you know, with a different view. So it's...
Well, what do you see overall for, you know, Worcester in particular, Shrewsbury? We're doing this in Shrewsbury, Worcester County. It's public schools, it's private schools, art for children now and the future.
Well, I'd like to see the parents really get behind having these programs kept in the schools instead of doing away with them or making them half-time. I would like to see parents, as early as they possibly can, bring the kids to the museums in the local areas. You've got the beautiful Fitchburg Museum, you've got the Worcester Museum, you've got the Gardner Museum, you've got the Higgins Armory. I mean, the Central Massachusetts, we have many galleries in Worcester now that you can go to for different artists. Expose them to this as early as possible. 3, 4, 5 years old, take them to the museum. Have them talk about it. Have them go home with a box of crayons, a set of watercolors. Try some drawings. And you might not know what they're doing. You might look at it and say it's a bunch of scribbles, but at least they're exposed and they'll develop an appreciation for it.
Well, I've learned a lot. Thank you. I really enjoyed having you, and I hope we've been able to put in a plug for art in our schools for our children. Maybe we can send a copy of this tape to Washington if it comes out good. And I always want to, you know, thank God for the help that we have with this program. It seems to always come out, and maybe we should work harder at it. But we're really more intent on content, I think, than the frills of the program. We have our flower in front of us, which is God's art, and we have our earth all around us, which is God's artwork, I truly believe. And we have a love for children. This whole program is about children. It's to share with parents what we might know something about in particular, and that they won't make the same mistakes we did. I want to thank you again, Steve, for coming
Thank you very much.
Good night now.
Yeah, bye.